Hey, smart Alec, smart ass. What solutions do you have? What do you suggest we do? You have a bunch in your paper, all very interesting policy ideas. One of them is an engagement-based tax. I think this is to me it was a novel concept. Do you want to walk us through what an engagement-based tax would be and what that would look like?
Yeah. So, as these policy papers are, they're kind of a give and take between me, the author, and the think tank. And I was looking at how can we mandate a price for these platforms, and what historically in public policy, like that is a heavy-handed tactic for a government to kind of come in and
Yeah.
just say, you shall pay for this. And you have obviously alcohol taxes and stuff like that. But when you don't have a price point to start with, you can't tax to regulate. If the platforms are free, I cannot stick a tax on that other than going after the tax on the revenue at the end. And the platforms are so good at shifting that profit everywhere. It just wasn't going to be feasible to do it. So then we started looking at, well, what's the harm, right? It is the addictive product features that are designed there and the encouragement the platforms have to keep us on the platform for a long time. And you also want to get at the fact that not all engagement online is bad. If I take 30 minutes to watch a YouTube video that is a documentary that was produced by the BBC or whoever, that's a good, quote unquote, accurate piece of content, I shouldn't be punished for that necessarily. So we came up with an engagement-based tax as a way of frequency of interaction with the screen. And then also if you could even then weight it for the younger the user, the stiffer the penalty, because we don't want our kids doing these things. And so if you think in that environment, a YouTube where I'm watching 2 30-minute videos in a day, if you taxed based on my engagement using the platform, would be 2 hits. If I did 1,000 TikTok videos in that time, and obviously one is more damaging than the other in my view, and that's the kind of short form content that just mindlessly keeps us consuming or doom scrolling, and I think that as a thought exercise, if you actually had to have a meter and track how much engagement you were doing, like we all have the how much you used your phone thing, and it scares the fucking shit out of me when I see it, right?
Yeah.
But some of that is Spotify listening to podcasts or listening to an album. It's not mindless use of digital. But if I'm sitting there tweeting and refreshing my Twitter feed and looking at TikTok videos or going through my Instagram reels, that's a different kind of engagement. So we wanted to find a lever that could get at that. And could you bring one in? It would be tricky, but imagine if we just had to do that as a thought exercise, or if we could get an app on the phone that would show us what our cost would be for using our phones in that way. It would incentivize us surely to think about, is that how I want to be spending my time and money? And right now we don't have that conversation because it's all free and it doesn't cost me anything other than my attention and other things I could be doing in my life. And, Sunday Times had a piece this weekend that looked at usage of phones amongst kids, and it's even worse than it was. It's on average, or almost 50% are on there for about 6 hours a day, with 10% being up to 9 hours a day. Just step back 20 years and tell parents, in the future your kids are going to spend 9 hours doing something, anything. You would want to know what that thing is, how that came to be.
Yeah.
What and not only that, what are they doing on that platform? You would ask a lot of questions, and yet we largely don't. And I think that was the thinking of how can you design a tax that would show people viscerally what their time and attention is costing them, and then making a decision of, is that a good use of my time or my attention? And maybe I should take my nose out of my phone and do a podcast with some charming blokes.
Well, good luck finding one.